Deep in the frozen north, this hardcore crew
It's not a job for the weak of heart, that's for sure.
Put your wing up, Ollie. The trains are moving, we're all making money.
battle deadly ice
You're constantly fighting against ice, snow buildup.
and mountains of snow
When I see snow, I hate it.
to keep a crucial supply route open. The Ontario Northland Railway. This critical lifeline shuttles fuel, food and freight to remote communities throughout deep winter.
If you're not careful, the cold will beat you.
If the trains can't roll through this icy hell,
You can't see so well. The snow and the ice really affects the brakes.
these communities will not survive.
The train is vital for them. There is no road.
This time, deadly blizzards
Or the snow drift's got to be 3 or 4 feet tall here.
and wrecked equipment.
This is a real emergency. You cannot let the train over top of it.
Threaten to derail a massive haul of lumber.
Could cause major derailment.
Deep in the frozen north, Canada's most extreme stretch of railroad snakes over 1,000 kilometres through the wilderness. The Ontario Northland Railway was built almost 120 years ago. Today, it's a spine of steel that connects remote towns and far-flung communities.
It's very important for us to have the railroad. They need us, we need them.
People rely on this train daily. It may be the only means of transportation available.
The Ontario Northland Railway is one of the world's most northerly rail networks, a gateway to the Arctic. Almost 100 towns and villages are connected in the frozen north. The railway provides a vital lifeline for First Nations communities. From Moosonee, down through the freight hub of Cochrane, branches spider out across Ontario to towns such as Iroquois Falls, Hearst, and Timmins. The line extends as far south as North Bay. In one of the harshest environments on Earth, it takes a close-knit team. The rail network employs 120 track workers,
We're gonna roll the rail out.
65 train engineers, and a 50-strong yard team.
Big guns out here. Time to blow some snow.
Only the toughest recruits can fight the freeze. Today, it rests on the shoulders of battled hardened Conductor JR
And get when you stop.
Stand by, Trevor, Neil.
and newbie trainee Trevor to ship a massive load of lumber east through the snow and ice.
We got a conductor trainee with us today, so I'm showing him the ropes, showing him my wisdom and knowledge out here, and hopefully he picks a little bit of it up. The bad habits, hopefully he doesn't pick them up.
He's a great teacher, very patient, cool guy, easy to get along with. And time to get some lumber.
JR and Trevor's first task is to haul empty rail cars from Hearst to Calstock. Here they must load up with over 500 tons of freshly milled lumber. They have just over 2 hours to haul it back to Hearst. Then on to Capper's Casing to load up with 17 more cars from a paper mill before they reach Cochrane. But with blizzards forecast, It will be a race against the clock and Mother Nature to get the freight there on time.
There'll be a lot of curveballs thrown at us as far as cars going to different places that we weren't aware of. Snow is a big factor. Cold weather, everything's slower in the winter as far as moving, stopping. Our air pressure system on our train takes a lot longer in the cold. There's a variety of things that could go wrong out here, but everybody's pulling together to do the job. What's on the agenda tonight, Neil? Where are we going?
Locomotive engineer Neil is in the hot seat for this leg of the journey.
We got to keep him in check.
The conductor is the eyes and ears of the locomotive engineer, directing operations. While Trevor is just starting his journey as a conductor, JR's connection with this railway runs deep.
My father worked for the railway for 40 years. He started as ticket sales and made his way to vice president of the company. Yeah, VP. I don't think I'll make it quite that far.
The team relies on a monster machine to help them undertake this mission. Their enormous pulling power comes from this 18-metre-long diesel-electric locomotive engine. This turbocharged Titan gives them 3,000 horsepower, more than 15 SUVs. Weighing in at 113 tons, it carries enough fuel to power a family car more than 4.5 times around the planet. This beast has enough muscle to move 5,500 tons of cargo. That's more than 50 loaded freight cars.
Gives you a sense of pride as far as getting that job done and delivering the goods to people all over, especially in isolated communities such as Moosonee, bringing all kinds of products up to them and basically keeps that community going.
As the freight train thunders west, further up the line, track inspector Patrick Zagay undertakes a crucial inspection of the railroad line. He needs to make sure that trains can make it through the icy wilderness.
I'm the one that's drive around the tracks and spot defects before they become major derailments. In the cold, it's pretty stressful, it takes time. You're always constantly fighting against ice, snow buildup. It's an old line and lots of broken rail, obviously. The thing we never want to do is to stop the train. The train's waiting, well, it ain't money making. That's no good.
Today, his concentration will be tested. It's his last day as a bachelor.
Yeah, I'll be finished my shift tonight, and tomorrow I'll be married. That's crazy. Family's coming over. I'll have a few drinks for sure. That's where we're gonna turn out to be an animal. I got a good family picture on the screensaver, so every time I open my laptop at work, well, I feel like I got my family with me.
Pat has one of the most critical jobs on the line. It's his responsibility to forensically check hundreds of kilometers of track, to hunt down broken rails and damaged joints that could cause trains to derail.
That would be a catastrophe. And that's one of the main reasons that we have to patrol this line.
If he finds any problem with the track, he has the power to close the line.
It's really critical to keep the train flowing and keep everything working. We're looking for broken rails, any sounds. Right now we're gonna hear for a bang or a sound, anything might feel something.
Pat rides in a specially adapted truck called a high rail. Just driving a regular truck along the rails to inspect the track will not end well. The rubber tires will slip and the truck will get stuck. A high rail is specially designed for the railway, fitted with an additional set of steel wheels front and rear. Pat uses hidden hydraulic pistons to lower these wheels onto the track. As the high rail rolls down the line, Pat feels every knock and vibration through the steel wheels as they pass over the joints between the lengths of rail. If he feels a bang, it could be a gap in the track. If not quickly fixed, a broken joint could derail a train, making this trusty workhorse a vital weapon in the battle to keep the freight flowing.
Might feel something. Worse than counting. I found 7 rail in one day on this line.
Pat's team patrols almost 200 kilometers of track each week and fixes hundreds of faults each year.
Now I just heard a good bang here. I'm gonna have to back up and get out and actually check it.
If Pat finds a gap in the track, he may need to shut down this section of the line. On board the freight train, JR, Trevor and Neil have almost reached their first stop to pick up 6 cars of freshly milled lumber.
I've never been in the lumber mill. I'm sure it's an interesting process. They ship a lot of lumber loads through us, and it would be pretty cool to see.
The mill has kept up to 250 local people employed here for over 75 years. Only possible because of the railroad.
We ship about 65% of our lumber by rail, which amounts to over 600 cars a year. We can ship all over the States, and we ship approximately 85% of our lumber to the States. So the railroad, extremely important for us.
Sales manager Yves Brunel races to prepare the massive lumber load for JR and Trevor.
My job is to make sure that we have the lumber ready and that we ship on time. It is extremely important for my clients to have their lumber on time. If it is delayed, probably they would cancel our orders and they'd buy it somewhere else, and there's a good chance we'd be liable to pay the difference in price. We have to keep a huge inventory of logs in order to be able to run year-round.
Yves is up against the clock to get these trees turned into construction materials and get them loaded and shipped in a matter of hours. But no freight is moving anywhere if Track Inspector Pat needs to close this line because of a broken rail.
It's pretty much a big gap. Make sure all the bolts are there. Thought it would have been a pull apart, but all bolts are there, so good to go. Look for the next one.
This time, it's a false alarm. It's a large gap, but the joint holds strong.
If it would have been a broken rail or a pull apart to the next train, yeah, chances would be a derailment. Need to keep that lumber flowing, get that lumber shipped all over the world.
At the mill, it's down to Yves to get the lumber flowing.
Now we're going to be heading to the sawmill where we produce the lumber.
This mill produces over 70,000 tons of high-grade pine boards each year. That's enough to build over 5,000 homes.
This is where you saw outside the trucks come in, they're unloaded. This is where the trees come in. So all the bark is taken off the log.
The tree trunks are eviscerated by thousands of steel teeth in machines called debarkers.
They go through the debarkers, and they're cut to their precise length, at least 16 feet or less.
sawing regular trees is pretty simple, but they're not all playing ball. The bent trees need to be put straight too.
This probably is the coolest part. Look, it's a crooked log. It goes through the machine and it's cut with the curve. It's being cut with the angle. Perfect. So you end up not losing any lumber when you cut with the curve. Just a thing of beauty, this curve sawing. There's a lot of work that goes into making a 2x4.
Only now can the prime wood boards be cut down to size, stacked according to grade, and packed for shipping.
All this is going to be picked up for the journey on the train.
Eve and his team have pulled out all the stops to get the 500-ton load ready for JR and Trevor's freight train.
Ready to go.
And they've made it just in time as the 200-metre-long beast pulls into the lumberyard.
All right, let's switch out this lumber.
All right, young trainee.
All right.
Now, it's time for some heavy shunting. They must disconnect their empty cars, then use their 3,000 horsepower diesel engine to attach the 6 fully loaded lumber cars to the train.
We're backing up. We're going to stop at the spur where the cars have been loaded. We're going to grab the cars out and we're going to set them by.
Sounds easy, right? But Conductor JR knows it's time to take a step back and see if his trainee Trevor can handle the heavy hauling heat.
Pretty bad half car.
Back up.
And 10 feet. 5 feet. And stop.
It's literally make or break time for Trevor. If he can't connect up the car's air brakes correctly, the train is going nowhere.
So the trainee here, he's cutting in these cars with air. The air system gives us our brakes. He's checking for handbrakes, taking handbrakes off, just checking the car. Take that one brake off.
John, he's back in the engine now. He let me take over here to hit this last joint. Cutting in.
Trevor's hooked up the air brake hoses between the lumber cars, and the diesel engine is connected. But will the train move?
All right, we'll pull him ahead. Yeah, okay ahead, Neil.
The air pressure in the brake hoses holds strong. And the 500 tons of freshly milled lumber is all set for its journey back to Hearst.
Doing good, doing good.
So Trevor's doing really well. I have the confidence in him. I've been kind of leaving him alone, just kind of watching over, making sure he's doing everything properly, but he's picking it up really fast.
All hooked up, Neil, ready to go.
Locomotive engineer Neil fires up the engine. He needs to get the lumber to Hearst in time to link it up to the Cochrane train. Track Inspector Pat makes good progress on his check of the line. Until...
Well, I feel a little bang.
he hits a serious problem.
See if I can see something out of the ordinary. Woof! Think we got something here. That's what we call a pull apart, and then it could cause major derailment.
The railway is made up of thousands of separate steel rails. These are bolted together with a metal plate on either side of the joint. During winter, freezing temperatures can make the steel rails contract. This puts enormous strain on the joints, snapping the bolts and pulling rails apart. If these gaps aren't spotted and fixed, they can cause a devastating derailment.
And I'll have to put the track out of service.
Pat must now fix the faulty track and reopen the line to keep the trains rolling.
Yeah, it's crucial that we get this train back to Hearst on time.
It's all downhill from here for JR and the team on board the lumber train. A slight gradient means they can pick up extra speed, but the slope and the extra load has a major effect on the braking of the train. A fully loaded train can take 3 times longer to stop than an unloaded train.
Pulling loads is a little different than empties, and especially braking takes longer to brake, so if we ever have to have Neil stop, we got to take that into account.
The train's brakes could soon be tested to their limit. Up the line, track inspector Pat Zagay has closed a section of track with a broken rail.
No train can come through here until this just gets fixed. That's completely dead track.
Almost every bolt in the joint has exploded. The entire rail needs to be replaced.
I'll call the crew and come and fix it as soon as they can before the next train. I'll just mark it for them.
It's now a race against time for the track maintenance team to install a new rail.
The RTC is on tracks to put the Pat's gear over. I would like to put the Pegua spur out of service for pull apart over.
No problem, Pat. We're heading there right now.
It now rests on the shoulders of foreman Darren Martin and rail worker Pat LaRue to try and get the track back online.
This is a real emergency. You cannot let the train over top of it until it's been repaired. Then we have a derailment that's worth like millions of dollars, so it has to be done.
Darren's inspection reveals the power of an exploding railway joint.
They sheared the bolt right off. When they do break, it usually sounds like a shotgun there, and kaboom. You're going to the hospital, right? You're not going to be around anymore.
First job, smash the rail free from the frozen ballast.
You end up slipping with your track hammer. I've had it like 5-6 times now. Your thumb will just explode. It's not a job for the weak of heart, this kind of job, that's for sure there.
Next, bring in the high-powered hydraulic wrench to loosen the last remaining bolt in the joint.
Things are gonna get very noisy around here.
But even power tools can't persuade the bolt to budge.
The bolt is bent, so it won't come apart no more. So I have to go to my next step here. I'm gonna put the rail saw on and I'm gonna cut the bolt off.
Darren must work fast to fix and clear the tracks to allow the next train to pass through.
It's a collective effort. Conductors, engineers, brakemen, guys that work on the track, everybody does their share and keeps the things running smoothly.
But the brutal conditions slow down every stage of the fix.
I can do my hydraulic hose.
The hydraulic hose needed to power the saw is frozen solid.
See the inside of your fitting? It's frozen open.
Darren can't afford any delay. The hose must be thawed fast. to improvise to get his rail saw up and running.
So now I have to go put it in the heater on the side of my truck. This is how Northern Ontario, you have to do a lot of stuff to get them to work. Nothing ever works very good when it's cold. Any other time we would put it in the back seat of the truck and we would let it just sit there for maybe a half an hour, but it's an emergency, we don't have time, so this is the emergency way we do it. We cannot delay this train, we have to get this done as fast as we can. And now, thawed out, ready to go. 2-3 minute fix. And now, there it is. Gonna be a little bit of sparks.
Finally, the faulty joint is disassembled, and Darren can remove the steel clamps, called anchors, that hold the rails straight on the timber ties.
My co-worker, Pat, is taking off the anchors. And that's how you do it. Knock them off with a hammer.
Now, Darren and Pat must cut out the broken section of track to slot in a new steel rail.
We'll put the new one in, and we'll be good to go.
Darren must get his measurements spot on. If he cuts out too little, he'll cause a major problem when the new rail section expands in the heat of the summer.
I don't want it tight. I have a 1/4 inch gap there for plate, because in the spring and in the summer, the rails get bigger, right? Gonna do the best thing, we're gonna cut a rail.
It's critical the rail is cut perfectly straight, so they use a brace to hold the saw onto the rail.
Ready for the spark show?
Powered by the hydraulic system on Darren's truck, the rail saw blade spins at over 4,000 RPM and slices through the steel like butter.
Okay, and that's it. We're cut through the rail. Now we're gonna pull this rail out and put the other one in. I'm just gonna slide her down first, Pat. Watch your feet, brother. Okay, up we go. Just like that.
They install the new rail and leave only a 1/4 inch gap. Once the hydraulics are thawed out with Darren's patented method,
Now warm it up again.
they can drill the bolt holes.
And it cuts through a rail in a matter of a minute, right? You would never do that by hand, that's for sure.
They lock the ends of the rail in place with steel plates to form a fresh joint.
Just like putting mom into papa. In it goes there, and there we go. They're all in. Now they just need to be tightened up.
One final turn, and the new rail is good to go.
We're gonna get out of the way so the train can pass through. So now we're out of here.
The track is fixed, and just in time. The freight train passes over the new rail without a bump or a bang.
When we get back to the Hearst yard, we're going to put these cars on a train, which will head to Cochrane, then on its way to North Bay, and then they'll go anywhere in North America, all over the world, possibly.
Trevor may be just 3 weeks into his conductor training, but he's already clocked up 9 years on the railroad.
The field I came into when I first started was on the maintenance side, swinging a hammer, changing rails. That's where I first started off. I've always seen the conductors and all that when I was younger too, and I've always fascinated by the trains, and now it feels pretty good to be part of what they do now. And 2 cars for the switch.
Trevor's time swinging hammers has made him famous as the toughest guy on this railroad.
We got like a competition every year there. It's like a spike champ competition. I'm the spike champ now for 2018-2019 season now, so it's going pretty good so far.
Railroad spikes hold the track to the timber ties. Hammering these home requires great skill and precision. During the 19th century, in the early days of railroad construction, workers would sing songs to keep the rhythm while driving spikes in unison. Gangs would compete in time trials to see who had the best technique. The spike driving competition was born. Although today machines drive spikes and build railroads at high speed, track workers from all over North America still keep the spike driving tradition alive. Competition is fierce amongst the railroaders, with the winner earning a place in railroad history.
Yeah, I don't take part in the spike driving challenge. I never worked on the track, so I might embarrass myself if I try that out, but I like to watch, and now that he's been training with me, I'll be there cheering him on next time he's enters the competition.
Trevor's muscles are about to be put to the test as Neil eases down the diesel engine and applies the air brakes. The 6 cars of lumber arrive on schedule into Hearst.
Got to set it all off and it'll be all set to go on the next freight train out. And we made our deadline. Good job.
Experienced Conductor JR can see a bright future for Trainee Trevor, who's passed today's test with flying colours.
He's doing a great job. He's picking it up a lot quicker than a lot of guys do. I can't say nothing but positive things about him. I think he's going to be a good conductor.
Trevor connects the 6 lumber cars into another freight train. This new train will be almost 750 metres long and weigh over 4,000 tonnes. It leaves for Cochrane in the morning.
10 feet and top.
Today's been a good day. Everything went smooth, everything went as planned. We made it in time for the freight train to Cochrane, and this lumber can be shipped off all over the world.
But as Trevor gets to work,
and cutting in,
connecting the air brake hoses to build the 39-car train,
he had full sun on my arm.
he runs into trouble.
He had full sun on my arm. I can't get the joint right now.
It's minus 20 degrees, and the brake hoses have frozen solid, taking Trevor by surprise.
I twisted the wrong way with my arm, I guess, and I just felt something pop. Kind of sucks to be taken out by the rest of the day. This might cost me the rest of my week. So I'm gonna head to the doctor's office and see what he has to say.
The weather may have beaten Trevor today.
Yeah, if you're not careful out here, the weather will get you. The cold will beat you. And I may have hurt my arm, but it doesn't put me out. I'm still a spike champ.
"6 a.m., Hearst Yard. The 500 tons of lumber is ready to be hauled more than 200 kilometres to the rail yard in Cochrane.
Hey, we're all set to go.
Yeah, good to go, Mike.
This leg of the mission falls to engineer Mike Black, conductor Colin Orlowski, and trainee Andrew Chapman.
It looks pretty nice out there.
Another beautiful day.
But overnight, a brutal blizzard has battered northern Ontario. Almost a metre of snow has been dumped onto the tracks, and temperatures have plummeted, dropping below minus 30. The crew now face a treacherous 6-hour journey.
We're in the middle of a pretty bad snowstorm here right now, so got to keep our fingers crossed everything goes well. We don't have any problems.
And to add to the pressure, They also have to pick up 17 cars, loaded with almost 500 tons of paper at Kappa's casing, making their train even longer, heavier, and harder to handle.
Yeah, with all the snow, it definitely makes the job a lot harder. Driving the train, you got a lot of responsibilities. You got to know all the track. You got to, because a lot of the times, like in the weather like today, you can't really see very far, so you pretty well have to memorize every inch of the track.
Waiting for their arrival at the freight yard in Cochrane is Ontario Northland Railway veteran Jay Faldeen.
Go ahead, 2201.
He's seen it all in his time on the railroad.
I've been relatively lucky in 18 years. There's been nothing too severe.
Stop, 2201.
Yeah, there's been medical emergencies, some seizures. I've had a woman went into labor on a train once. That was fun.
Talking of tough deliveries, Jay needs the cool head of a midwife and the focus of an air traffic controller to keep this yard running smoothly. It's constantly busy, a 24-hour operation. Hundreds of thousands of rail cars, each carrying tons of freight, pass through here each year. Today, Jay must master this constantly shifting jigsaw puzzle.
Stop, 2201.
To free up enough track in the yard for the next train due in, he must clear out dozens of freight cars on a train bound for the north.
Today it's going to be 7-8 transports, groceries and whatnot in it. There's building supplies, got some fuel cars going up. That's what I know is going on right now, but that could very well change in the next 20 minutes. Those two are going into the town, eh?
Make it 2 now, 2201.
But getting this wrong would hold up the entire supply chain and cost the railroad millions of dollars. Mike is plowing through ever-deepening snowdrifts in a desperate bid to get to the Cochrane yard.
You can't see so well. The snow and the ice really affects the brakes. So you got to take a lot of extra care to make sure you can slow down or stop if you need to.
Track vehicles and workers could be on the same section of line. In such limited visibility, this journey could end in disaster. So Colin must request clearance to enter a new section of track from train control.
Those are track authorities. So that's your permission to use the track between Kappa's casing and Cochrane on this one. We all get a copy of the clearance so everybody knows what's going on.
The train has one last stop before Cochrane, the paper-producing town of Kappa's casing.
All right, let's go. So now I'm cutting the engines off and we're gonna take the engines up to the next switch, then come back down to number 1 track.
The team now has to hook up 17 more cars, loaded with almost 500 tons of paper. They cannot afford any delay, but Mother Nature is in no mood to help them out. The temperature is dropping fast.
20 feet. 10. That'll do. All good.
For the trainee conductors, it can be a steep learning curve.
Yeah, Andrew thought his radio wasn't working, but he's on the wrong channel. New guys, eh? Let the journey begin. Hey, we should be good to go when you're ready, Mike.
Good to go.
The train now weighs a staggering 4,700 tons and snakes over a kilometre in length.
So now you got to prepare even more for when you need the brakes, but plus with the cold weather that we have right now, the air gets really thin. So you have to be careful again for that reason. We can't really afford any delays today. Hopefully everything goes well. So you got to get this into Cochrane as soon as we can.
Mike and his vast train are just 1 hour from their destination at Cochrane. Now Jay must pull out all the stops, clear his decks, and build a freight train to leave for the north. This should make enough space for the next freight train when it arrives.
We're just kind of switching back and forth between tracks right now. I'll grab the cut.
Building a freight train is a logistical puzzle. Cochrane Yard has 5 storage tracks running parallel with the main line. The cars Jay needs for his train are stuck in other consignments around the yard. So, using a single diesel engine, he must break up these trains to liberate the cars he needs. At each junction, there's a switch that allows him to haul out cars and switch them onto other tracks. But in this game of cargo chess, one false move could cause long delays. After hours of shunting and switching, juggling and cajoling, he will eventually complete his build and clear enough space for the next giant train.
We're just sorting out the box cars that we need to go to Moosonee and the ones that are going to stay here in Cochrane. So we got a little bit of back and forth between the 2 tracks.
But back on board, Mike is still fighting through the banks of snow that are building along the line. The drifts are getting bigger and bigger by the mile.
Where the snow drift's got to be 3 or 4 feet tall here. That's what you see every day anyways. We're going to hit another snowbank here. He's going to get covered in snow here. Today's pretty much going to be continuous plowing through snow drifts the entire way. Like that one.
The road to Cochrane runs alongside the track, so Mike and Colin have a front row seat to see the traffic carnage the weather is causing.
The roads are pretty bad out there today. There's an accident.
Yeah, it looked like a pretty bad one. Hopefully everybody's all right.
Yeah, I guess nobody's going any further to Cochrane today on the road unless you're going by train.
Yeah, that's one good thing about the trains. We don't really stop for the weather. Not much holds us back.
Lots of snow out there, but it's not going to stop us.
No.
Stop, 2201. Stop.
It's taken hours, but at Cochrane Station, Jay has finally built his train, which leaves to make room in the yard.
We got to get our train out to Moosonee.
And he's done it just in time. By clearing the yard, the freight train can deliver its massive cargo.
We're there on time. Just about in. Hopefully we're lined up. Well, we got everything into Cochrane. Good job, guys.
The lumber from the mill in Calstock and the paper from the factory in Kapuskasing can now be distributed to markets around the world.
David, another one for the history books.
It's taken the eagle-eyed track maintenance team,
There's people that can do it and people that can't.
an army of timber-munching machines,
It is extremely important to have their lumber on time.
and a heavy-hauling cargo crews
Great day, for sure.
to keep the freight flowing on one of the world's most extreme railroads.